Hi everyone. In the last hours there's been a leak from the network test of the upcoming game from software, which will be available on the Nintendo Switch 2 and will be named the Duskbloods. In this video I want to analyze some of the points which I think are more important about the gameplay that this very first footage is disclosing. I want to do it with the approach, the point of view of a PvP enthusiast from software titles. I am very passionate about the competitive side of the Souls series, and therefore I am very interested in the Duskblood, since footage like this kinda reinforce the idea of a game with much more focus on this competitive side of From Software style games. During the video I have decided to show just some screenshots that help me talking about the footage rather than playing the very footage that have been leaked, since I want to avoid copyright problems. I will just try to recognize game mechanics and game design choices in this footage based on my experience and knowledge with previous titles. But keep in mind, this will be largely based on impression, and the final product that will come out might be very different from this footage. So, the very first topic I want to address in this video is about the general loadout and classes that have been shown. And here the video, I think it's very straightforward in showing us not only characters with selected loadout, but probably a game that in general is not as much based on loadout collection like previous From Software titles. I am saying this because in this footage we see the classes that are playable being kind of coherent in their equipment and moves. You don't see a specific weapon being wielded by more than one player, and this weapon seems to be coherent with the images of the game that were previously released. But another thing that I've noticed is this bloody shield popping up on the left hand of more than one character that was played, and they were different characters. This tells us that some mechanics or tools like this shield will be most likely applicable to different setups, kind of being standard of the rooster, and this tells us about a game that sort of leaves behind a little bit of the collectability that is typical of action RPG titles. So the next point I want to address is the jumping system in the Duskbloods. In this footage we see an even more flashy and free jumping system compared to the jumps and almost flying capability of one of the characters in the trailer, Randolph. Well, here we even see characters doing multiple jumps. And this is totally different from, for example, the Souls titles. And the most similar thing is actually in Elden Ring, where we can actually double jump on the mount, on the animal that we ride. But yeah, in general, Elden Ring just had kind of more free and spammable jumps that were fairly easy to control. But in this footage, we actually see characters like just multiple jumping and even changing their direction. And that's the main point. Double jumping will be probably very important within the competitive environment of the game, since it will be very unpredictable. Let's imagine jumping towards your opponent and then changing your direction. It's something that makes the playstyle very fast-paced and frenetic. But yeah, this game in general looks like a game with a lot of air movement and air combat. And we see it ever since the trailer came out with the Randolph character using the jetpack. But I'm starting to form my opinion like this game is more likely gonna have drifting and floating mechanics rather than actually flying characters. Because at a certain point in the gameplay footage, we see the character with the axe in the right hand stopping for a moment on the ground and then executing a very high jump, which looks more like a propulsion toward the high part of the arena. So he goes up in the air and then spends his jumps, which I don't think are gonna be unlimited. I think there's gonna be a limited number of jumps you can do, just like on the Elden Ring mount system. And then he proceeds to slow his falling speed even more by executing an air attack, which appears to be able to even combo the opponent, but as for now, I cannot understand very well how this combo works, if it's possible to escape it. What I can say for now is that in general, the game seems to give the player many options in the air and even fighting the opponent in the air. And that's very interesting and new. So next I want to talk about Istan and Poise in the footage. I cannot go very deep into the understanding of these mechanics, but since they are very central for the PvP community, I think they are very interesting since we actually have seen a little bit of fighting interaction here. So we have seen different type of hitstun and hyper armor situations. For example, at a certain point, the character with the axe uses a spell or a move with the left hand. I don't really know what these moves are. I don't know if they are applicable to many different characters and setups, but I have the idea that they might be. And this is reminiscent in the way it appears and looks to the pyromancy flame surge, which is popular in PvP in Souls titles because it's good to do cheap damage from afar. And the same application is used here. And right after we can see the enemy, which is actually the player point of view, who's using John Duskblood for lack of the character name. And he does sort of a running attack that instead stuns the opponent. He interrupts him, and this difference is basically coherent with previous titles and confirms luckily that we will have different layers of poise and hit stun. But what happens next is even more interesting, since we see the axe character popping out his shield and blocking the next move executed by the other opponent. And by blocking this attack, he then performs a counter attack from the guard. This is exactly or very similar to what you can do by pressing an R2 after blocking an attack in Elden Ring. And the result of this counterattack is the axe character interrupting the action of the other attacker. So this might be an hyper armor mechanic connected to the counter attack from the guard, or can be let's say poise priority of a bigger weapon, since the axe is visibly bigger than the sword of the other character. I want to comment on the game mode that has been shown, which for me is the strongest evidence about how central PvP is for this game. Since the very first time we see this game being played, it's in some sort of free-for-all arena type combat environment, and that's huge. We have previously had arena in From Software titles, but they were abandoned in some games. They were facing player base problems, since they had different modes that players were struggling to really find opponents in, and they were marginal to the game experience. But this time we see this type of gameplay for the very first sight of the gameplay footage of the Duskblood, and that's very promising. Two details I noticed about this game mode is that obviously there is the presence of mobs and NPC like creatures who probably are summoned by the players or generally are just part of the combat. They are very interesting, but feel like they are more marginal to the interactions between players fighting, but that's maybe just the impression of this specific footage. Who knows, maybe we are getting bosses inside the arenas. But the details that I've liked specifically is the moment where the shape-shifting player transforms into the dinosaur and throws with some sort of command grab, for lack of better words, the opponent outside the arena. So this moment is fascinating because it shows two things. First, the ability of the characters of multi-jumping and let's say flying in the air are very limited. And second, that gravity falling off a cliff and these mechanics are centered in this fighting style, and that's very fun, I believe. I have a lot of fun when I play invasions in Soul titles and players fall down and die. I think it's very central to the experience of PvP, and I'm happy that this is not all about damage, but it's also about controlling the stage and stay on the ground. And the final thing I want to say is about what is hidden inside this footage, because not everything is possible to see. For example, we don't understand very well how these creatures that are not controlled by players are here. I don't even understand how the characters execute their special moves with the left hand. But all of this can be summed up with the fact that the footage has the HUD hidden. So we cannot understand the game very well since we don't have the proper interface that a player would receive by playing the Duskbloods. And this tells us primarily one thing, and this is that we see how the game appears, but we cannot understand yet how the game works because we don't have numbers, values, and the visual representations of them on our screen. We don't have the loadout, we don't have the build. All of this is being kept secret by the developers up to this point, and we still don't know about it. So it will be very important to have these informations to judge further the footage, but we just don't. And the last conclusion I can draw from it is that the developers probably had imagined that this footage was gonna be shared, so they probably designed the network test to not tell too much, not share this info, and therefore we should not approach this leak like a secret reveal, but rather as the very first look at what we are most likely gonna have, at least for the most part. So that's why I think it's very interesting, very realistic, that this footage is gonna be official and also kind of indicative of the result of the game. And I'm very positive for what we are getting as the PvP player base, because this game just doesn't look like a slop. It looks like a certainly simplified version of a Souls game for some aspects. For example, I have not seen very incredible movesets. Some running attacks with multi-hits were not that much convincing to me, but at the same time, it's very early to be decisive on this, and we still have so much that is new, interesting, and very fun about these very first the Duskbloods images. So let's keep in touch for what's coming next, and thank you very much for listening.